The world famous Imola circuit in Italy, better known, of course, for hosting many San Marino Formula One Grand Prix and a couple of Emilia-Romagna ones as well. Tonight plays host to a clutch round, a critical point of the RSRA Super Series. It's the SimShed Broadcasting Imola 160, round 9 of 12 in what has been a cracking championship to this point. 9 races down, 5 to go, and already one man with one hand firmly on the title. Good evening, everybody. Zach Coburn and JP with you as we welcome you to round 9 of the RSRA Super Series. Welcome to Imola. Welcome to Italy. The first of 3 different countries you'll see in action across the next 4 weeks as we wind down the championship and the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Yep, we're inside the final third of the championship now, and there's only one bloke that can be considered the title favourite at this point, and it's hard to see him being beaten. His name is Dylan Rudd, and it'll come as no surprise to anybody that he is on top of the championship leading into the final third of the season. JP, welcome to you, of course, subbing for Chris Kisby yet again. Great to have you on board, mate, and of course, it's all Dylan Rudd's to lose from this point, but there are plenty of other drivers in this field that would be determined to make a statement over the next 4 weeks.
Yeah, good evening, Zach, and good evening to the viewers all around Australia and all around the world. Yeah, look, Dylan seems to really have this this series sewn up. However, I know that the guys chasing him are not going to give up without a fight. So, yeah, game on.
Indeed. Now, let's just have a look at the calendar if we can, JP, if you've got that there on file. Let's have a look at the calendar and where we've been and where we're going to, because as you can see, we've already ticked off Canada, the United States, Germany, Great Britain, a couple more visits to the US, and now Austria. Italy is the 6th venue on the calendar. Now, of course, as far as countries are concerned, then Japan will make 7 and Australia will make 8. 8 different countries in 12 weeks. Busy schedule. Thankfully, we're only flying virtually and not reliant on the current flight patterns of the world, because otherwise this season would well and truly stretch out over, well, let's just add 2 weeks of quarantine to each country, so it'll be about a 32-week season by the time we got to the end of all of that. In saying that, plenty to be excited about over the next 4 weeks. There are the start times for you, 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, with the exception of that last week where we'll up the ante with 260 kilometres of racing from Mount Panorama, a double sprint to conclude the season, the final leg of the Triple Crown, and the final reverse grid race of the campaign as well. That one will be from 7:50 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time, Tuesday, the 7th of September. Before we get into any more detail about tonight and the race at hand, let's have a look at the Imola circuit. JP filed this hot lap earlier in the week.
Yeah, this circuit's a great circuit to race on. You really need a lot of commitment here, especially coming through this section here. Get this run onto the last turn right. You can get on the throttle nice and early, flat out through here. Now we start going through the gears. We're banging up through the gears. 4th gear, 5th gear. On our way to 6th gear. Now we're looking, as we're coming through this straight here, we're looking at the 200-metre board. We're going to brake hard just after the 200-metre board start. Leading off the brake now. Shifting down 3rd gear, 2nd gear, get lots of curve through here, modulate the throttle, balancing the car on the throttle here, okay, out through this side here, 4th gear, flat out through here, into 5th gear, looking at the, just between the 150 metre sign, braking again nice and hard, taking a lot of curb, going through to the 4th gear now, down into 3rd, 2nd gear, bleed off the brakes, get nice exit through here, flat down, get on that power nice and early. Now we're heading slightly uphill now to the next section of corners. Just before the 50-metre mark, we're braking, take a lot of curb, get on that throttle nice and early. Now we've got to balance the car, make sure we don't get that corner nicely here. Take a bit of curb as we're going through, nice wide arc, trail the brake, on the power hard, short shift to 3rd gear as we exit here. Now we're on our way to the this chicane here. We're going to take a lot of curve. We're actually almost going to straddle the chicane. Come out the other end on the power nice and early. Flat through this section. Now we're going to stay roughly to the middle of the track. turn in early, and as we turn in lightly on the brake, and as soon as we're straight, get harder on the brake, bleed off the brake, down into second gear, squirt of the throttle, on the brake, give it a bit more juice there, and now we're on our way to the finish line. So that's a hot lap of the Imola circuit. Now back to you, Zach.
And a cracking lap it is too, JP. Very nicely done, and so elegantly put together. It helps that there's no other cars on the racetrack there, and not me in your ear at the same time as well. Of course, we've seen some interesting hot laps across the course of the journey this year from Matt Davis getting sideways and out of shape. That was a very smoothly done lap from your good self there. Very nicely done. That's the standings on the top left of your screen there. With 4 minutes left in qualifying, just have a look at the margin that Dylan Rudd's got on the field, if you don't mind, ladies and gentlemen. It's fantastic. 141.89 plays 142.43. Cameron Jones right up there for the FORDs tonight. And Ben Morris having a good run as well. A couple of interesting things out of that hot lap, JP. Because of the fact that the start-finish area has been redeveloped in the last decade, whereby it's now one flat run all the way from turn 18 down to turn 1, essentially. You've gone as that overtaking opportunity at the old last corner chicane sequence, but you've got a tremendous opportunity to get the slipstream on the run down towards turn 1. Very long pit lane here as well, so transit time is going to be a critical factor tonight. Of course, the pit lane redeveloped many moons ago as well. So just those two factors alone, that'll throw the cat amongst the pigeons to an extent tonight, I would think.
Yeah, absolutely. That's going to change the complexion of the race, but there are still plenty of decent overtaking opportunities on this track, and a nice high-speed, high-flow track. So, yeah, we're going to see we should be seeing some great racing tonight.
All right. Some great racing across the first 8 weeks of the championship as well. And this is how things stand in the championship as we come into the final third of the championship campaign. Of course, season 2 of 3 for the season. Just have a look at that lead for Dylan Rudd. Now, critical point. There's a maximum of, I think there's 5 bonus points for qualifying and then 5 bonus points for clean races. So as long as Dylan Rudd can enter the final round with 165 points in the bag, as far as an advantage over the rest of the field is concerned, game over. He'll have it wrapped up. At the moment, it's 133. So across the course of the next 3 rounds, if he can find another 30 points, forget about it. It's a foregone conclusion. Rpund Leonage, impressive from the youngster so far. Whilst he's only been on the podium, I think, once, he's racked up the consistent results along the way here to sit second in the championship, ahead of Dylan Pereira by 15 points. And Pereira's been one of the big improvers of the season thus far as well. Jamie Dyke, 1,041. Him and Matthew Scholes duking it out for 4th position, closely followed by Peter Crossingham. Dean Reddit sitting around there in 7th at the moment. Big margin between Crossingham and Reddit, and half that between Reddit and Dean Alessi there, who is 8th. Not the best season for Alex Court, but maybe that's a sign of improvement from the competition around him more so than his own personal performance. He's there on 947 points. Mitch Campbell on 945 makes up the top 10. We'll let that scroll. JP, I want to know at this point, who's impressed you and who hasn't necessarily impressed you so far this season? I mean, it's hard to look past Dylan Rudd, but along the way there, guys like Rpund Leonage, Dylan Pereira, they've really impressed. And there's a couple of guys that'll walk into this part of the season thinking, geez, we've got some room for improvement.
Yeah, 100%. Look, and I'm actually going to throw a spanner in the works here, Zach. We've got to remember that the last round is going to be double points. So there will be a maximum of 315 points on offer for the last round of racing this season.
Oh, double point. Okay, just throw the cat amongst the pigeons, why don't you? Oh, boy. So basically, what you're saying is Dylan Rudd needs to keep turning up.
Absolutely, and if he has a bad race and is a non-finisher for the final round, all of this work that he's done, all of this great racing, all of this consistency, will be for naught.
Really hate to see that, but at the same time, it would be just the most extraordinary sting in the tail That is for sure. Right, with the championship points looked after and out of the road, let's have a look at the race information for tonight. With thanks to the team at SimShed Broadcasting, of course, it is the SimShed Broadcasting 160. This circuit, 4.91 kilometres long. 33 laps will be the journey of tonight's race. That equates to 162 kilometres. Pit lane speed, as I said earlier, it's a very long pit lane. 60 kilometres an hour is the pit lane speed limit. So when you've gone from 270 at top speed down towards the Tamburello and the Parabolica and all those sequence of corners at the start of the circuit, I think it's Tamburello here, Parabolica's Monza, forget about me, I'm sidetracked. That's a very big difference in speed. So the pit lane crawl is going to feel very, very drawn out tonight. Fuel restriction at 47.3 litres, 4.4 litres a lap is the fuel burn figure. We'll get to that in just a moment. 2 pit stops await these guys tonight and 2 sets of tyres as well. Look for most of the guys in this field to take that second set of tyres in their second pit stop. So no tyre change in that first pit stop. Date today, 17th of August 2021. The only difference is 1900 local time would be 3 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Thank Christ we're here a lot earlier than that. 22 is the air temp, 39 on track, kilometres an hour as far as wind is concerned, sitting at 8, and it's tending southwesterly as well. So not a huge wind, but enough to have an impact here. Now, just going back to those fuel burn numbers, 47.3 divided by 4.4 gets you 10.75. So look for a lot of these guys, JP, I would think, to maybe save a quarter of a litre across the course, or a quarter of a lap across the course of the first 11 laps. Pit on lap 11, pit on lap 22, break it up evenly, get home. And because of the fact that it is a 33-lap race, and that is 10.75, it doesn't leave too much room for flexibility in terms of your pit strategy unless you want to break it up with a 3-stopper or, critically, unless we get a safety car.
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to be looking to do a little bit of fuel saving, and you can save a bit of fuel on this track. So watch out for that. And of course, they're going to be hoping for a safety car. And a safety car on a track like this is the probability is pretty high. So we'll see what happens. I think Lee in the safety car will probably jump out in a minute and start doing some practice laps just in case he has to lead the field later on tonight.
Yeah, I get a feeling he might get called upon tonight. I mean, the safety car has appeared more often than not throughout the championship thus far. Didn't see it last week in Austria, but throughout the rest of the season, he's certainly earned his keep. There's no doubt about that. Now, race start, as we say, is going to be 7 o'clock. Don't worry too much about that. Long, drawn-out, beautiful summer evenings in Europe, so we should be fine to get through this race without the sun setting. The joys of a civilised, progressive concept of daylight saving. Hello to you all tuning in right throughout Queensland on that note, and Western Australia as well. The Northern Territory I can kind of excuse. Now, just a couple of other points of interest here. Incident point penalties kick in for these guys, JP. Externally from race control, this is within iRacing, 17x and every 10x thereafter. We haven't seen too many penalties handed out thus far for people exceeding incident points. That being said, a change is as good as a holiday. We might see someone exceed the incident point count limit at some point during the season, but you don't often see it, which is a testament to the hallmark of the driving standards of the championship, I would say.
Absolutely, and I think the drivers now have come to understand that those 5 points, those 5 bonus points for a clean race, are almost critical. I mean, with the points between drivers being only 2 points, 5 points can make the difference at the end of the season.
Now, special guest to the commentary box, ladies and gentlemen, the one and the only Matt Davis from Lockdown, Victoria. Hello, mate.
G'day, mate. How are we?
Not too bad. Nice to have you on board. Obviously, the lead commentator here, ladies and gentlemen, of the RSRA Super 2 E-Series, which returns to this circuit tomorrow night. And I'm excited about that, Matt, because it's sprint racing for you guys tomorrow night. So a reverse grid thrown in for good measure as well.
Mate, what better place to do a reverse grid than Imola? And I'm sure it's going to be action-packed tonight. But, mate, I I was just watching the broadcast in the living room while having a cold beer and noticed that you're one man short. So I thought I'd come in and relieve JP for a little bit and let him do his duties on screen and let us have a little bit of a chin wag over tonight's action-packed racing.
I
It's
am
funny,
relieved.
It's funny, ladies and gentlemen, because it was only last week that he was saying how nice it'd be to get the band back together, and we've got to do that much earlier than planned, which I'm looking forward to. Mates, yeah, on a serious note, how's everything in Victoria impacting you at the moment?
Mate, look, it's going all right. It's we've got obviously now curfew between 9 p.m. and 5 a.m. and that's because of those that unfortunate engagement party that happened in the city where no one was wearing masks and there was 2 active cases. So other than that, mate, works as usual. I'm a frontline worker, unfortunately, for the government on the rail projects, and for those that didn't know much about me from the Wednesday nights, that's what I do for a living during the day. So, no, but look, it's going all right. It's a little bit quieter on the roads, but other than that, mate, it's just all systems go, Danny.
And Matt's also adopted a new nickname for the rest of the season, Mullet Davis. I saw that on social media as well. And you, there is a reason for the dodgy haircut. Please explain.
Yeah, no, look, there is, mate, there is, and obviously, as everyone on Tuesday nights and Wednesday nights know, I run FU Suicide, and that's raising suicide awareness for men's mental health and the Blue Ribbon Foundation, and also it's coming up to Mental Health Month, and we thought, why not jump on board the whole trendy hairdo sort of thing, and some people say it's trendy, some people say it's don't, and I can tell you right now, it's one rude haircut, and no, raising funds for not men's mental health, but the mental health month, and taking funds for growing a mullet, and we'll shave it off at the end of the month of next month.
Let's be honest here, guys. Matt's been looking for an excuse to grow a mullet.
Hey, what else can you do in lockdown, Victoria?
Well, that's exactly right. Up here in Queensland, yes, some of the freedoms have been returned, but you still can't go anywhere because you don't have any confidence in being able to withhold your bookings at this point in time, and we're still not sure whether Christmas goes ahead or not at this point, so we'll wait and see. However, they're confident about having an Echo holiday long weekend in October, so God only knows. You can't plan that far in advance, I would have thought. Hey, Matt, just quickly get your thoughts on the Imola circuit and also the position in the championship. I mean, Dylan Rudd's 130 odd points clear, but as we heard JP say there a short while ago, it's at a point now where he needs to finish these races, or otherwise the double points round could come back to bite him at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to see a man, Rainer Costello, unfortunately drop out, but it's definitely a one-man horse race at the moment at the front of the field. But like you said, and JP said, he's got to finish these races and accumulate these points to be able to succeed in the championship. But, I mean, drivers are gritting up on screen, so, I mean, there's going to be plenty of time across this race to have a bit of a chin wag about it.
Absolutely. Let's have a look at the grid on that note. I'll go the first 6 rows, and then Matt can take over from there. Dylan Rudd and Aaron Dodd, front row. No surprise there. Cameron Jones and Paul Morris. Actually, to be fair, that's a really good performance from Aaron Dodd because he's pipped Cameron Jones in the closing stages of qualifying. Jones and Morris, the second row. Rehan, Leonage and Dylan Pereira from the third row. 2 of the big improvers so far this season. Then Jamie Dyke and Craig Schultz. Sean McNamara and Simon Chadwick make up the top 10. Matthew Scholes and Alex Court on row 6.
Row 7, we'll see Hayden Norris and Michael Angus line up together. Then row 8, we'll see Dean Powell, Peter Crossingham. Row 9, Jacob Brewer, David Kirby. Sam Noble, Robert Crisdale out of 10. Brenton Nitschke and Kai Turner out of row 11. Row 12, we'll see Dan Alessi and Brian Cooper line up next to each other.
Final 3 rows of the grid, Alan Dawson and Dean Reddit, then Rick Sibber and Mitch Campbell, Lindsay Hobbs and Chris Barnes. 8 rounds down, 4 to go. The battle between Rudd and Dodd resumes in Italy. Let's go! Nice clean getaway from Aaron Dodd. No surprise at all to see him assert the authority at the front of the field and lead down towards turn 1. 3 1. Cameron Jones is in the dirt and gone. That's going to see him catapult down the order to the end of the field. He's managed to gather it up somehow through the grass there, but he has lost a chunk of positions there all the way down to 29th. Unbelievable start. Fireworks in Italy. The other big loser in all of that, I didn't quite see. I think it might have been either Aaron Dodd or Dean Alessi. Dean Alessi's dropped a couple of spots. Aaron Dodd's drops 6 positions as well. And the drama continues at the first of the hairpins, Matt Davis. Fireworks from the outset.
Unfortunate there by Jones, just to put the back bumper of Dodd there and send them both off the track. Dodd with an exceptional save. He was all crossed up coming into the first chicane and managed to save it through the grass. They rejoined safely, and he's only down in 8th position, but he's got a lot of big names to pick off to get all the way back up to where he started from.
Through they go. We'll have a look at that incident again for those of you watching at home very shortly. In the meantime, trouble here in the early stages.
Jamie Dyke
serving a slowdown, it would seem. Jamie Dyke. So that's interesting too, Matt, and it's one thing we didn't hark on too much during the pre-show was that slowdowns are going to be an absolute killer around here, as Jamie Dyke is already finding out.
Oh, slowdowns are crazy around here. Go to Nationwide Technology Systems replay for you, ladies and gentlemen, of what happened as we actually see the end of what happened there with Cam Jones, and you just watch the whole entire field fly on by, and there's not much you can do. He's going to be rejoining on the racing line there, so we have to hug the curb. But slow down, Zach. It's big. I think there's about four or five opportunities to actually get a slowdown around Imola. So I believe we're going back to the incident. No, we're just picking it up right at the end. So I don't get to see what happened, but Cam Jones definitely gave Dodd a little bit of a nudge. We'll get a rewind here. Amazing what technology can do. But Cam Jones just goes for a little bit of dive down the inside and just Dodd jumped on the brakes a little bit earlier than what he thought, and Cam Jones straight across the face of it.
So Dodd in all of that still ended up losing a chunk of spots. I think it was 6 or 7, but Jones lost 24. Yes. And he's got all the work in the world to do to try and salvage that. But it's not the first time this season, and JP will attest to this because we've seen him do it before. It's not the first time this season where we've seen him drive through the field. So if he can salvage anything from tonight, it'll be something well worth watching. Now here's some action up at the chicane at the top of the circuit. That was a nice piece of driving as well from Craig Schultz and Ben Morris. Ben Morris getting by Craig Schultz up into 4th position. Schultz back to 5th. Then Aaron Dodd tucked in behind him on the comeback trail. Simon Chadwick's there as well. Big mover at the start. Alex caught up 4 positions, but look at the front of the field, if you don't mind, Matt Davis. Rehan Leonage up to 2nd, up 3 spots, and Dylan Pereira up 3 as well, putting pressure on the youngster. But I'm more concerned about the front of the field. This could be an absolute blowout tonight. 1:42.52 already for Dylan Rudd. He leads this race by 3 seconds, and we're only 2 laps into 33.
Rudd's just on another level. He's got that car absolutely dialed in, and to pull 3 seconds, and it's only the 3rd lap. That's a second a lap over Leonage and Pereira. But Pereira going to be right up on the back bumper of Leonage, and it's good to see the youngster finally up in a podium position, and hopefully he can stay there for the majority of the race, and Pereira can give him the battle that these two deserve.
Now, just having a look back further through the field,
Aaron
Dodd has lost 4 positions early here, but make it 3 because he's just got by Craig Schultz, and he went by Schultz as though he was standing still. The 737 gets by the 208. The up and under works for Aaron Dodd. He's up to the top of the hill, and now he's already applying the pressure to Ben Morris as well. So on for young and old, and we're riding on board with Simon Chadwick here. So look at that. 4, 5, 6, 7 all in the one view at the moment. Yes, Dodd's got a little bit of work to do, but I'd be worried if I was Ben Morris because the train is coming for him.
Train coming for him.
3 of 33. Exactly right. 1:42.52 the benchmark from Dylan Rudd as well. So keep that in mind because after qualifying, Matt Davis, he's 1:41.85 was 0.4 of a second quicker than Dodd, who was 0.4 of a second quicker than Leonage. So there was 0.8 between 1st and 3rd. Now, that's disregard that message down there on the right-hand side of the screen, folks. That's a test from race control to make sure their communication is working. It's fine, fellas. Looking forward to hearing from you throughout the course of the night. However, I dare say any driver in the field that'll be on the receiving end of your messages won't be looking forward to hearing from you as they make their way down towards turns 2 and 3 once more.
Is anybody? Oh, there we go. Car 196.
There it is.
Car
There's the first one.
737 lap on lap 1. So
So that's Cameron Jones. So he's not just went from bad to worse. Jones, despite losing 24 positions on the opening lap, now gets a drive-through for his trouble as well, and here he is serving it.
That puts him way down the field, and as far
That'll
back
put him
as you
dead
could possibly
last.
think. Yeah, dead last. Dead last, that'll put him. So.
Well, actually, no, I stand corrected. It'll be 29th because Rick Sibra is dead last. Rick Sibra's already out of the race, actually. Didn't see what happened to Rick Sibra, but he's already disconnected from the service, so we're already down to 29. And no sign of Lee Davis shoving behind the wheel of the safety car just yet. So, whatever's happened to Sibra, he's been able to get it back to pit lane under his own steam or get it far enough off the racetrack that it's not going to pose a problem. Through they go. So, plenty happening out there in the early stages. Just having a look down through the field, 7 positions gained for Robert Crisdale is the most of anyone in the top 15 at the moment. 7 positions also gained by Mitch Campbell, and we know Campbell races hard as well, from 28th to 21st already. And you see that right throughout the field, Matt Davis. There are the likes of Rudd and Dodd that qualify and race well, and then there are a whole stack of them. Alex Court, the leading example, that don't necessarily have a great run in qualifying, but watch them charge once we go. Jamie Dyke is this on the inside.
Jamie Dyke
Nice
on the
move.
inside into turn
Nice
1. Very clean move from right there. And no,
he's another one on the fight back as well, should point out Matt Davis.
Yes, he is. He is on the fight back. He had a bit of a slowdown very early on in the race.
That's right.
But going back to the qualifying side of things, mate, it's a bit of a same picture in Wednesday Night Motorsports as well. We know Jamie Davis doesn't quite have the pace in qualifying, but we know he's a fast driver. And we saw that at the new Canada Street Circuit, and I think it was Chicago, not Canada, Chicago Street Circuit.
Yeah.
He came back from dead last to finish second, so he had an absolute drive in the night that night, and he came into the booth that night and said, I've got to focus on my qualifying, and the next week, last week, he came out and picked qualifying time. So, people have their weeks, people have their off weeks, but those that don't qualify well are known to pick positions off during the race to progress up to better themselves in points.
Looking forward to an update from you on the RSRA Super 2 E-Series before you go tonight as well, Matt Davis, as we get ready for tomorrow night. And you'll see it here on the platform.
You put me on the spot on that one, mate. At least I've got a few laps to get that one ready.
From 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Got to make you work for something on a Tuesday night. Have a look at this. Down the main straight they go. So the battle continues here. The 5.55 of Crisdale all over the back of Dyke, and Angus there as well. 3 wide almost. Have a look at Crisdale looking for a dance partner here. Now he wants to have a look down through the middle, but there's nowhere to go. And Angus holds on for the moment, but under serious pressure from Dyke. Rides the curb. Through they go. 2, 3, then 4. And Crisdale just
turn into a 5-way battle
in
very
for the moment.
soon.
Whoa, speaking of which, have a look at this. Craig Schultz is under serious pressure here at the moment from Alex Court and Sean McNamara as well. Hayden Norris and Michael Angus are not far back from that. So, you're right, it could end up being just a freight train of cars battling for the minor places. And further ahead, boys, we should point out, Aaron Dodd is putting serious pressure on Benny Morris right now. Only 0.2 of a second separating positions 4 and 5 here. We ride on board with Alex Court in 8th.
Big squirm.
He lost a lot of time there, unfortunately, to Craig Schultz. And Simon Chadwick is the next one up the road, but now Court's under serious pressure from Hayden Norris.
McNamara's dropped away.
Up the beauty tonight.
McNamara dropped off Alex
he
Court.
has.
He's all the way down in
fact.
15th position. I think that might be a slowdown, or he's come off the track.
Let's have a look at this. We were riding on board with Court at the time. Here is McNamara tucked right in behind Alex Court as they head up towards the top of the hill in the left-hander. Now, Court's covered McNamara off. Now, was there a little bit of a contact there? It wasn't a good enough angle to tell if there was contact or not, but was there some hip and shoulder unintentionally? Let's have another look at this, Matt Davis.
Hang onboard view would be excellent right here, or even a far trailing cam. Here we go.
Here we go.
You'd be able to see contact, no doubt. If someone did give McNamara a little bit of a nudge, or did he catch the... So Alex Court just came to the right a little bit under brakes, and Sean McNamara had nowhere else to go as the road closed down in front of him.
And I don't want to do the stewards' work for them, Matt Davis, but I would argue that McNamara probably wasn't far enough up there to be in a position to attack that overtaking manoeuvre, so stewards might view that as a racing incident if they're lenient.
Yes, no doubt they might view that as a racing incident. Dodd is all over the back now of Benny Morris. Benny Morris with a pretty cruisy start at the moment. Fourth where he started. He started fourth and he's currently fourth at the moment, but that may change very, very quickly if Aaron Dodd can find a way past.
Well, the surprising thing for mine is that Aaron Dodd's been there for a couple of laps and he hasn't found a way past yet. And this is interesting because... That's right, but we know that Aaron Dodd's got pace as well, so it just goes to show pace isn't always king around here. Sometimes it is track position, and Benny Morris is just proving how little overtaking or how little effective overtaking opportunities there are on the 4.91 kilometre Imola circuit. So watch this battle unfold again here. Let's see. Oh, hang on, Brenton Nitschke's gone round. And let's wait and see if Ben Morris can hold Aaron Dodd off on the run out of the last corner there, all the way along the main straight as well. But in the meantime, here's a replay of Nitschke.
I think he's caught the curb.
Every day of the week.
Too much curb.
Those curbs are big and they're fierce.
Oh, they are. They can actually, if you hit them too hard, ladies and gentlemen, they can actually roll the car over.
Dodd now gets by on the inside of Benny Morris, as we suspected. If he got a good run, he needed a good run onto the main straight to make it work. But instead of the the regulatory move along on the inside, he just says, look, I'll send it round the outside. That puts me on the inside for the next corner. I'll cover you off. Too easily done. Ben Morris tucks him behind. Probably not a fan of the overtaking manoeuvre that was just put on him, but smart drive, great racecraft.
Definitely not, because he got back ready.
Yeah, exactly right. So let's get back to that battle in a moment, but in the meantime, we're on board with one of the Falcons here. And this is Ben Morris. So Aaron Dodd is now 2 seconds down the road behind Morris. So something's happened between this pair. Whilst we're having a look at the replay.
Quite possibly. He only dropped 2 seconds. I reckon it might be a slowdown, or he's had a little bit of a moment and a big slide. But Benny Morris!
Wow. Let's have another look at that. I want to have a look outside the rear windscreen of Aaron Dodd there, because I reckon there's more to the story. Maybe just a little bit too early on the throttle here from Aaron Dodd. Wait and see. We're looking straight towards him now. Was there contact between these two cars?
Oh, that's very, very close.
Maybe there wasn't. I don't envy race control right now, Matt.
No, I definitely don't envy race control at all, mate. That's going to be a tough decision. It looked like there may be a hair in there, but that's just too hard to tell from that angle. You're really going to have to get on the back bumper of Dodd, and or even get an aerial view of that incident and really play that out in slow-mo. The stewards are really going to have a tough time trying to decide what's happening there, and that depends if Dodd's actually called that in or not. That's the other thing.
Yeah, that's very true. We continue our coverage on lap 9 of 33, so we're already quarter of the way through the race here, ladies and gentlemen. It's gone like that. It's racing on by here from the Imola circuit in Italy. First and only trip to Italy this season for the RSRA Super Series. You're watching it on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting and Real Sim Racing Australia, all around Australia and the world, across Facebook and YouTube and the like. And you're riding on board right here and now with the Alex Court 888 entry. I didn't get a good enough look at the car, to be honest with you, but we are riding on board with him, looking out the back to Hayden Norris, looking up the road to Craig Schultz. And this has become a regular sight for Alex Court tonight, Matt Davis, and one he's probably getting sick of, if you don't mind.
Look, mate, I can tell you right now, I used to get very sick of seeing the back end of one car lap after lap after lap after lap when I knew I had the pace, but they were just that strong in the defence that I just couldn't find a way past. But Alex Court looks like he's got an opportunity here and just has a bit of a check-up. And a bit too much of a check. If he had the run going onto the straight and could have got him here, and unfortunately just doesn't have the pace now to get Schultz down the straight.
Now they go onto the main straight. And see, this is the thing. This is why the move Dodd on Morris worked so well, because Dodd got a great run onto the main straight and remained in the toe. Court lost a little bit of toe there, and therefore lost the opportunity to grab the overtaking manoeuvre as they head down. Oh, nice piece of driving there.
Jump.
That's really good stuff. So that's Matthew Scholes on the inside of Sean McNamara, I believe you'll find.
Yes.
And then in behind them, Jacob Brewer, Peter Crossingham and Kai Turner. Have a look at that 5-car gaggle. And now the other interesting thing too, Matt Davis. Yeah, exactly right. No holds barred here. Alex caught by Craig Schultz. Alex caught by Craig Schultz. But Schultz is fighting back on the outside. Have a look at that. Oh, nothing in this. Have a look at this. This was a beautiful piece of driving through Villeneuve by Alex Court. Set up Schultz beautifully. Have a look at this. Dive down the inside. Got the job done. Then it was a drag race up the hill, but now Court has covered him off. So Court now holds and consolidates onto 7th position. Schultz and Norris are right there, though. So Court cannot afford to slip up from this point. And what's even more interesting, Matt Davis, next time round will be pit stops. The 10th lap, 10.75 is that fuel window. They need to save quarter of a lap or quarter of a litre over the course of 11 laps here to make sure that they can stretch it out to 11 laps. And then 11, 22, 33, they're home. In the meantime, have a look at this. The battle continues. I think that's Jamie Dyke in behind Craig Schultz now. And he now dives into pit lane, so he goes early. This is interesting. A lot of these guys are going on lap 10, not lap 11. Now that it defies a little bit of logic to me, because I would think that you'd want a 2-stop race, not a 3-stop race, Matt Davis, unless they're relying on a safety car in the second or third stint here.
If they rely on a safety car, you never know. It's a safety car can come out whenever. We don't know when it's going to happen. It simply can come out whenever. We know the street circuits are renowned for safety cars. More of the open field tracks like Imola and Watkins Glen and such, we know that safety cars don't come out as often as we'd like. But these drivers, Morris, Dyke and Crossingham, definitely banking on a safety car here to try and hit the entire field, because they know that the field is going to be pitting under safety car if it does come out this lap, or at the next set of pit stops, or not. So the boys are really going to have to see what happens. But if it does come out mid-pit stops, they're going to be carrying less fuel than what the other guys are, but then the other boys can hit a lot later in the race, and it's a domino effect. It's really a who's just got the best driver skill out of the entire 30 car field.
Now, Dylan Rudd now, this is setting a new precedent. And Rehan Leonage, force a habit. Rehan Leonage, Dylan Pereira, they follow on as well. So all of a sudden, we've now got 10s, 11s and 12s. Chadwick, Court and Norris all in on 11. The top 4 going on for 12. Dodd and Schultz continue on. So we've got 3 different strategies at play here now. We've got a lot of guys. The concerning thing for me, Matt Davis, you got Dylan Rudd, Rehan Leonage and also Dylan Pereira saving enough fuel but maintaining their speed to get to 12 laps. You got a lot of guys that pitted on lap 10, 1 lap earlier than I thought they might have. And then you got a lot of these guys, maybe 10 or 11 of them. Alex Court's in a little bit of trouble, we understand. They're on pit lane, hitting on lap 11. So it's going to be 11, 22 and 33 for those guys. Alex Court's in huge trouble here. This is not good. Local yellow at turn 2 and 3, so we've got problems on track as well. We wait and see what might unfold, whether this is the safety car we're waiting for. Unfortunately for Alex Court, it seems as though something in the pit lane didn't engage there, so therefore Court was stuck for a lot longer than he would have liked, and that's compromised the rest of his race. Speaking of compromised,
speeding in pit lane incident there.
Possibly. Speaking of compromised, Cameron Jones still sitting 28, 25 positions lost. Robert Crisdale's down 9 positions, but off track. Robert Crisdale is off the track. That'll be that local yellow at turn 2 and 3.
Oh, this could shake
Is this the safety car? Is this the safety car we're all thinking it might be? And this
Rudd's
really
just
will
pitted.
change things.
Really nice pits. Ferrari
Oh,
pits.
no. This is extraordinary. And this is a big leg up for Aaron Dodd if that car needs to be retrieved by the safety car. Let's have a look at what happened to Crisdale. So this will be a replay that takes you down through. There's turn 1. We run down to 2 and 3. The Tamburello.
Oh, pops a motor.
Oh, no. He's behind an engine, and that'll
And
be
what
that.
did I say, Zach? The commentator's curse.
Absolutely right. Strikes again. Every single time.
Well, you know what? It gives us a little bit of a break for a bit of a chin wag, a catch of breath, and have a nice, relaxing cold drink while
Exactly.
the field formates themselves, get their pit stops done, and then forms back up behind the safety car. And we know this is going to be a bit of a long safety car stint as well, maybe 2 or 3 laps around here while they try and clear the...
No safety car yet.
No safety
No
car
safety
yet.
cars yet. Which is surprising for mine. They might leave Crisdale there is what we're hearing. And that, I'll tell you what, nothing more depressing than sitting there for 3/4 of an hour while all your mates go around and have the fun. Marshals have cleared the, there you go. Marshals have cleared the car and we remain green. So Marshals have cleared it. No safety car. This race stays green. That's a huge blow for the guys that pitted on lap 10 there, Matt Davis. They would have loved the safety car to save that little bit of extra fuel to extend the run out to maybe lap 22, lap 23. And it really is a big blow for someone like Aaron Dodd, who could have used a safety car to get himself back onto the legs of, or onto the rear of Dylan Pereira and Rehan Leonard. So with 21 to go, the field has sorted itself out through the opening sequence of pit stops, but unfortunately, no safety car to assist the guys that stopped on lap 10, and I'll get back to them in just a moment. Your thoughts?
All right, mate. If I was a driver right now and being out there going for that early pit stop relying on the safety car, I'd be absolutely livid right about now. But it has shown that you can save fuel around the... big slide! Big slide for
Michael Angus having a real go.
I'd be absolutely livid, but it's been shown by Rud Leonard Pereira that you can save fuel around Imola. So the guys are going to have to try and sort something out where they're going to be on the race pace still, but still saving fuel at the same time.
Remembering when we were talking about the fuel burn, 4.4 litres a lap, pit lane infringement, Michael Angus done. Forget about it. Angus is coming to pit lane. A pit lane infringement on lap 12. We've been talking about these pit lane infringements all season, Matt, and another one falls victim to it.
Yeah, we haven't actually seen too many in the on Wednesday night motorsport. The boys have actually really stepped up a notch in the driving and really obeying those pit lane infringements and really getting them down to a T. There's lots of questions being thrown around on the Discord, and they're all by the Super 2 drivers on Wednesday night, asking what's okay and what's not okay. And by the looks of it, the main game boys, they're not really learning, are they?
No, sadly not. Although that being said, that's the first one we've seen for a couple of weeks. Most of the guys were pretty well behaved last week. In the meantime, we continue on here. So, some analysis in all of this from what we've seen so far. 3 positions gained for Leonard and Pereira, 4 for Chadwick, 5 for Norris. Michael Angus, sorry, that's his teammate David Kirby, my apologies, of course. Down the inside trying to get by. Just trying to have a look there at Sam Noble and Mick Campbell. Yeah, Sam Noble. So he's trying to get down on the inside there, but Noble's covered him off around the outside. Very nicely done. Still Kirby applying the pressure at the moment. Mitch Campbell in behind them, then Chris Barnes and Dino Lassie. The boys are on it at the moment. 20 to go from the Imola circuit. Tuesday Night Motors, one of the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Oh, what a wobble from Noble! Huge squirm from Noble. Now, just going back to everything else I was saying. 5 positions gained for Hayden Norris, 6 for Peter Crossingham, 5 for Jacob Brewer, 8 for Kai Turner and Brian Cooper, 9 for Mitch Campbell and Chris Barnes. Has gained 10. So he's gone from 30th to 20th, from last on the grid all the way up nicely to 20th position. So they're the big gainers of the night thus far. The losers, Michael Angus down 13, Cameron Jones down 23, Robert Crisdale down 9 and out of business, unfortunately. Rick Sibber, of course, the only other retirement at this point. So much of a muchness, really. I'm now more interested. Oh, big send, huge send down there on the inside. Really nice piece of driving. Really good stuff. And that is Dylan Pereira, Ben Morris, and Aaron Dodd, is it not? Have a look at that. No, it's Peter Crossingham. It's the next battle. Different, similar looking cars, different battle.
All right, he's run wide.
Peter Crossingham wide and up the outside.
Zach,
Now,
I'm just
this
going
is
to jump in
Schultz's
here.
opportunity here.
I'm just going to jump in here,
JP?
mate. You asked me before who's one of the drivers to look out for. Peter Crossingham has come on like gangbusters this season.
Absolutely he has. He's holding his own here in this battle too, JP. This is really good to watch. So Crossingham there in 9th. Schultz is 10th. Then back to McNamara, who's a little bit further down than he'd like to be and probably we'd expect him to be. And then Jacob Brewer and Matthew Scholes. So still a 5-car battle there, Matt. 6, in fact. This is awesome stuff. This far into the race, and now Schultz down the inside to cover off Crossingham. Oh, geez, that was
what about this?
a little bit tight, a little bit close. I can't bet, but really nice driving from the lot of them there to get through. Now, will he send it down the inside? No, he's too far back. That's all happening out there. Now, what's going to be interesting for mine here, Matt, just as we watch these guys come onto the main straight. So Ben Morris pitted on lap 10, as did Jamie Dyke, as did Peter Crossingham, who's at the head of this, who is in the thick of this battle, I should say. So we're watching those three to see where they pit next time round, whether they can save enough fuel. I don't know if Crossingham's in a position where he can save fuel, but he's going to have to at some point. And that's the problem he faces at the moment. Down the inside, nice move there, covers off Schultz again. Oh, no, car off in the background as well. Oh, big one in the back. 3 cars. Alex Cross caught up in that. Cross caught up in that.
Goals.
Oh, no.
That was huge. That was huge.
Oh,
Zach.
no. Here it is again for you. Alex Court was the innocent bystander in all of this.
Matty Scholes
So
into
there
the
was a
back of
nudge
Brewer.
there. And then these three come together. So it ended up being a 4-car shunt. Massive airborne moment there. And Court, unfortunately, his night just goes from bad to worse. And that really is the biggest shunt we've seen this season.
It's definitely the biggest shunt we've seen this season. That's absolutely huge.
So, 2 things here, Matt. Just going back, I was talking about those cars that pitted on lap 10. They need to save a little bit of fuel around here to get to maybe lap 22 before they stop again, so that they can get home on 2 stops. Obviously, if they get a safety car, that goes out the window because they'll save it anyway. But the concerning thing for them is the guys that got to 12 laps saved enough fuel, and the top 3 were fast enough they just blasted away from the rest of the pack. So, I mean, Dylan Rudd's lead is 7.5 seconds, and then Rehan Leonage, Dylan Pereira, Ben Morris has closed in on them, but Ben Morris is one of those guys that's got to save some fuel. So there's a bit to play out here, but the concerning thing for the guys that stopped on lap 10 and 11 is the speed of those guys that saved enough fuel to get to 12.
Yeah, it's it really have. Benny Morris has to play the fuel game here. He's got no other option other than to sit in the slipstream of Pereira and Leonage. He's got the double toe there, and that's going to save him an immense amount of fuel there. Dodd is going to be on the charge. He's 6 seconds down the road at the moment. We're not sure what happened there. He was only a couple seconds back from Benny Morris, but he's now 6 seconds behind them. So he's going to be on the charge to try and make up some spots. He might also try the fuel saving game, hoping that these guys pit a little bit earlier. And what I've seen at the moment is Dylan Rudd still on the charge as well. So it's going to be a fuel number game at the end of the race, I reckon, Zach. It's the boys are going to be wanting the safety car. We've almost seen one. Would have helped Benny Morris out in this situation. But yeah, almost twice, yeah. So I think it's just going to be a matter of can the boys fuel save enough. There's a move up the inside. Is that Schultz on Crossingham? Doesn't get it done.
Yeah, Crossingham on Schultz, very nicely done. So,
Crossingham,
Yeah, what's interesting here as well, McNamara gets Schultz as well, might even take Brewer with him too. Brewer down the inside. Oh, hang
Schultz
on,
runs
there's
wide.
a lot of smoke being blown up there too. And Schultz has
wide,
lost 3
Brewer
spots
through.
in all of that. That's not ideal for Schultz. Half race distance for you, 17 down, 16 to go. Plenty unfolding at the Imola circuit at the moment. He's been turned around.
Hobbs.
Oh, no. Talk about that. The elbows are out tonight, boys.
Oh, they are. Is that going to be a penalty, though, for Lindsay Hobbs? That is the question.
Exactly, even though he redressed. Yeah.
It's all happening tonight, ladies and gentlemen, at Imola, that's for sure.
Oh, yeah. Hey, what's interesting for mine, Dylan Pereira all over the back of Rpund Leonage, Ben Morris all over the back of him as well. So the battle for second, third and fourth is on. Back then to this battle between McNamara, Brewer and Schultz. The gaps are astonishing. So 8.2 seconds from Rudd to Leonage. Then you go from Morris back to Dodd is 5.5 seconds. 4.5 seconds from Dodd back to Chadwick. And Dodd's running a very lonely race at the moment there in fifth. Then Chadwick's under immense pressure from Dyke and Norris. Then Crossingham's under tremendous pressure from McNamara. Then it's a gap back to Brewer and Schultz. Then Cooper's got Kirby and Noble for company. There are literally battles everywhere tonight. Battles galore. It's great.
And it's not something you do see at a circuit as such as Imola, but it's good to see. We've seen in the past weeks that it's been a little bit quiet out on track and not many battles going on. Everyone sort of spread themselves out and just ran their one-man race, but it's good to see that they've turned it up Tuesday night. They're obviously all feeling Imola tonight, and that 5-car battle between Brian Cooper back down to David Kirby and Matty Scholes could be coming into that. He's on the charge and making up immense amount of time to that group there. So that and he's taking Dean Power with him, so that could turn into an 8-car battle in a matter of minutes.
Certainly could. Have a look at this. Hey, side by side. And then they tuck back in. Crossingham's giving McNamara a run for his money now. And Brewer and Schultz are trying to go with them, but struggling to do so. Then have a look at this. The battle for second. What about Rpund Leonage? What about his charge? Dylan Pereira and Ben Morris trying to send it down the inside. Pereira's been one of the big improvers of the season, as well as Leonage. Morris, again, fuel's going to be the issue for him, given that he pitted 1 lap earlier than most and 2 laps earlier than the pair in front of him. And while he's trying to apply the blowtorch to Leonage and Pereira here, it's not going to do him any favours.
I was fortunate enough to be able to commentate Pereira in last season's Wednesday night motorsport, and I always said that he's going to be one to watch out for, and it's really good to see him starting to turn on the afterburners and really start to get that driving down pat and get those corners and apexes that he was one to not finish the race or get booted down the field very early on in the race. And it's good to see that his racecraft's finally chipped up a little bit, and he's able to get himself up on the podium and towards the front of the field now.
Right, well, let's put it this way, folks. We're lap 20 of 33. Look at Benny Morris trying to send it up the outside. He tucks back in. And this is giving Leonage breathing space as well. Have a look at that. 7 car lengths to the good there. Morris with a great run through the chicane. Now it looks down the inside as they head down the back straight. Not close enough. Not close enough as they get through the first sector. Drive-through penalty to the 605 for contact on 0-2 on lap 16. So the 605, that's Scholes in pit lane at this point in time, serving a penalty. Lap 20 of 33. And I have to say, with the greatest respect to everybody, last week was a little bit stale, a little bit mundane, a little bit lacking in action. Gee, they're making up for it tonight, Matt Davis.
Oh, they sure are, mate. It was the same on Wednesday night motorsport as well. It was a little bit of a stalemate, and then all of a sudden, the end of the race just absolutely picked up. I think JP was saying it was only the last 15 laps that it really started to turn on towards the final pit stops, as I believe that was Barnes runs a little bit wide coming out of the corner there. It was a little bit of stalemate, and they just picked right up towards the end of the race, and this is turn it on from the start and to lap 20 of 33. So I think the viewers are definitely getting their money's worth tonight. Oh, a big curb jump by McNamara.
Yeah, that is huge. Let's take this opportunity before the final round of pit stops, ladies and gentlemen, to crank up the volume, and then we're going to take you all the way through to the checkered flag. We're right on board with the race leader, Dylan Rudd. No better person to go for a lap with around Imola. Riding on board with the series leader and the race leader around the Imola circuit. He gets back to the line to complete lap 21. Just 12 laps to go. Dylan Rudd is on his way home. Ben Morris pits at the end of 21. So now he's going to have to get 12 laps out of that final stint, Matt Davis. And that was the problem we addressed at the end of the first stint. And it's not a problem that I'd like to have if I was Benny Morris forcing the issue, trying to go with Dylan Pereira and Rpund Leonage. He might lose out now.
Oh, he could possibly lose out, but he could also make up and do a little bit of an undercut here on Dylan Pereira, depending on how long Pereira stops for.
Oh, Morris and Crossingham in the pit lane at the moment. So they've cut. Actually, Crossingham's another one that's jumped early here. So they are mindful it is a 33-lap race. They're going to have to get 12 laps to that final stint. Crossingham's been brilliant tonight, but I'd hate to see it come undone now. Look at that up on the outside. Brilliant piece of driving from either Angus or Kirby. I couldn't quite pick up the number of David Kirby. Very nicely done. So Kirby moves up to 12th position, getting the better of Mitch Campbell. He's got Sam Noble for company as well. And then back to Chris Barnes in that distinguished number 74. And then in 16th position there, it was Dean Powell. A long gap then back to Alex Court, who's had a really frustrating night at the office. Then behind them, Cameron Jones, who again, frustrating night at the office, but slowly working his way back through. Dean Reddit and Dean Alessi making up the top 20 at the moment. The only car in the top 20 that remains where they started, unsurprisingly, Dylan Rudd.
Surprisingly, and that man is on absolute fire, mate. 15 positions gains with Barnes and Campbell at Brian Cooper up 13 as well. Yet they're still yet to make pit stops.
Rpund Leonage, Dylan Pereira, Aaron Dodd, all in right now, Matt Davis. So, again, Rudd gets an 11th lap out of this stint. These guys short go, and they come in with 11 laps to go. So they're opting for that fresher set of tyres 1 lap earlier than Rudd. Not that it's going to make a rat's of difference, of course, because Rudd, he has a lead that's unassailable almost at this point. And despite the fact that he will have the fresher set of tyres at the back end of the race, I mean, it's all circumstantial as far as that battle is concerned at this point.
They're in the pit box now. Leonage, Pereira jump into their box. They're on the way out. Leonage pits Pereira on the pits there. And then it's going to be very, very close.
Here they go. And Morris is charging for these guys. Remember, Morris needs to save a lap of fuel somewhere along the way here. Leonage covered.
Leonage out. Ben Morris.
That's very nicely done.
There's Benny Morris. Benny Morris with a slow outlap there, Zach. Very, very slow outlap.
Very slow. And again, that maybe comes back to the fact that he's cottoned on to, oh, hang on, I got to get 12 lap out of this stint. So we might be already into that fuel save mode so that you can go harder towards the back end of the race. I get it. Maybe there was a tactic there. If he comes in lap 21, he's got that fresher rubber a lap earlier. Conversely, when you get to lap 33, his tyres are going to be a lap older than everybody around him. So you question why. Maybe it was a mathematical misjudgment. I'm not sure. Ben Morris has got a bit of a hard yakka to try and muster up over the next 10, 11 laps here. And back to the line comes Dylan Rudd, again going round. So Dylan Rudd, this is extraordinary. Here we go. Car 12, contact car 066 on lap 17, and a drive-through penalty as well. So Lindsay Hobbs, we suspect that he might get a whack across the knuckles. He's done just that. What's impressive for me, Matt Davis, Dylan Rudd gone to lap 24. And here comes Sean McNamara into pit lane. Dylan Rudd will stop on lap 24 and only do 9 laps on this second set of tyres. Extraordinary run.
Very, very extraordinary run. That's a feat on those. That man is he's on another level. It's just, I can't believe how well he's driving. He's still on race pace and pulling a gap over Leonage and Pereira whilst maintaining the fuel saving game. So yeah, I can't believe it.
Well, he got enough practice around Imola over the weekend, of course.
Yes,
being
definitely got enough
the Imola 500.
That's, I think, where the
so you would think he's learnt the tricks of the trade. Yeah, I think that would be fair to assume that at this point in time. 10 laps to go. Rudd is on his way home here, doing a superb job. We expect him in this time by to grab a fresh set of rubber, to grab the fuel required to take him to the checkered flag. Here he comes now. That's the margin he has on the field. It's just extraordinary. Now he's going to slow down, coming to pit lane.
23.4 seconds as he goes to pit lane. Obviously, to make his stop. Rian Leonage, Dylan Pereira mid-17s, Leonage mid-18s in the pit stop. It'll be interesting to see how much of a difference his pit stop time is compared to everyone else, considering he has saved the amount of fuel that he has. So up on the jacks he goes. Fresh set of tyres, a little bit of fuel. 10 seconds ticks by. 12. And probably drop off at about the 16 mark, I'd say. No. Sat on there for 18.6 seconds. So that tells me Dylan Pereira may have just short-fueled himself just a little bit. Rudd has taken an 18.6 second stop.
Yeah, that's true too. Although,
has he put in enough fuel? Because we know he's one to conk out on the cool-down lap as well. So has he played it
correct?
Safe?
That is a very good point.
Yeah, so I think that might have been the
very good point. Right, we are on the run home, ladies and gentlemen. Pit lane drive-through penalty for car 196. That's Cameron Jones. Well, that's just the nail in the coffin of a shocking night for him, really, to be fair. It didn't start very well. It's about to end very poorly as well. Cameron Jones coming to pit lane for pit lane infringement. That'll be a drive-through penalty after a lap 1 incident that saw him catapult down the order to the tail of the field. And then he's been playing catch-up all night long. And this is going to really hurt for him.
Unfortunate at the start of the race, he's made a little bit of contact and put himself out of contention for the race. Pops himself a drive-through penalty for it, and then just unfortunately must have been one of those control line, all the pit box issues there, and big squirm there by Dean Reddit. My new co-commentator on Wednesday night, might I add as well. So
that's right. Yes, I did see that.
That man is doing right there on Wednesday night's motorsport as a co-commentator, and to only do his second week last week, he was absolutely on fire. So I commend him for his efforts to send it around the track on Tuesday night, and then come into the booth and be able to back it up with a bit of commentary as well. So that man, I definitely appreciate and thank for that. But big jump off the curb by Reddit there.
I was going to say as well, nice work on the recruitment drive on that note, because you've been looking for a teammate all season and you finally found one. Now, have a look at this. Have a look at this. Alex Court trying to get down the inside. of Barnes in the
Barnes
74, and he's
gets it
done
done.
it. Caught the 17th on the comeback trail. And really throwing everything at it, muscling that Commodore in the closing stages of this race. Can he salvage a top 15 result from here?
They got Mitch Campbell and Sam Noble, 295 boys to get through now as they're battling it out with David Kirby still. This battle has been going on for some lap now, and they're not too far up the road from Alex Gordon, so Alex Gordon has got a little bit of a wiggle on him. Mitch Campbell's all over the back of his teammate Sam Noble. What's this going to bring, ladies and gentlemen, down into turn 2? Backs off. Backs off his teammate there a
Through
little
they
bit.
go.
So gives him some breathing room, and the battle continues between Kirby and Noble.
So, David Kirby under all sorts of pressure here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And look at Alex Court ranging up onto the tail of these guys now. So Court under the back of Campbell and Noble. And really an opportunity to try and find his way into the top 15 here after what's been a pretty rough night at the office. Caught himself in somebody else's incident there a little bit earlier. Has been playing catch up ever since. Up the hill they go. 26 of 33. Have a look at this. Kirby leading the freight train in the battle for 14th. Yeah, I didn't think we'd be this excited about the battle for 14th, but these guys are turning it on at the moment. And have a look at that. Noble with a big send, but to no avail at this point. They'll come back to the line.
As well.
They will get 7 laps to go. These guys are still on lap 26, not 27. They've still got 7 to go after this one, Matt Davis. So still plenty of time. Over 28 kilometres for these guys to try and get the job done.
What's going to be having a look at Campbell. Try and line the run up here out of the final couple corners. Has a look up the inside. Doesn't quite get the nose up enough in there. But can he get the run out of the final corner onto the main straight? Have a look at him through turn 1 to get up on the inside and get the move done. He's got a good run though. He's got a good drive out of the final corner in Zach. Can he get the slipstream to play into effect? Don't forget as well, ladies and gentlemen, Campbell's got the slipstream from his teammate Sam Noble. Oh, has a look up on the inside. Has a big fire by Alex Court. Sends it from the back of the football field and gets it done.
Ah,
that's a tremendous send.
That was brilliant. Really bold and brave from Court and pulled it off. Here it is on the NTS replay for you, ladies and gentlemen. That was Alex Court finding his way by Mitch Campbell up in a 16th position.
That was a whole second later on the break to Zach Caban. Whole second later on the brakes than Mitch Campbell. That is impressive.
And
pulled up into one of the tightest quarters. Oh,
and didn't get a tie down for it either. And was sliding on the exit. Brilliant. What about the commitment from Alex Court in the Triple Eight? He's not going to die trying here.
Sam Noble and Kirby now.
Yep, and Kirby's trying his best to hold on to 14th place, and Noble's on his outside. Kirby on the inside. That's not going to do him any favours whatsoever as Noble just brushes him aside on the run up towards the chicane and Court's all over the back of them like a rash. Kirby's going to have to tuck back in. Noble's got clear air here, and all of a sudden it's Kirby and Court battling for 15th now. Unbelievable pressure. 14th through 19th, and we've got a real race here, folks. The biggest battle in the top 10 at the moment, just so you're aware here, folks, as Kirby goes back down the inside of Noble. Trying to get back into 14th. Unable to do it at the moment. Court's looking for a way. Court is sliding on the exit. Oh, magnificent stuff from Alex Court. He's not going to give up without a fight. Oh, this is brilliant stuff. All the way to the checkered flag, and these guys have got 6 laps to go. Here goes Kirby up on the high line. And if you don't mind, Campbell has a run on Court as well, but tucks back in. Kirby down the inside. Oh! Big win for Alex Court as Kirby and Noble come together.
That's what we're hoping for.
And he got it through. Here it is on replay. Matt Davis, talk us through it.
Oh, mate, there's just, where do you look? There's Kirby on the outside, Noble on the inside. Noble gets the good drive. Kirby, though, far enough to push the pressure up on the inside of 3 through the final bit of the chicane. And just, unfortunately, they both come together. Kirby come... Actually, no, it's JP just mentioned in our ear there, Zach. Noble did it to himself. He actually came down on Kirby there. So what looked to me to be a bit of an incident there by Kirby to open the steering into Noble's door. Noble actually came down onto Kirby and couldn't enough room. So the stewards are really going to have a proper look at that one.
And you have to feel sorry. You have to feel sorry for David Kirby there as well, who, assuming there was contact, waited to redress with Noble and dropped all the way down to 22nd position as a result of that. 14th and 15th they were. They're now 22nd and 21st. Unbelievable scenes here. 29 to 33. So 5 laps to go for these guys when they get back to the line. Dylan Rudd leads by 11.5 seconds over Rpund Leonage, who's under pressure from Dylan Pereira and will be right through until the checkered flag, I would assume. There's that battle all the way back at the top of the circuit, halfway through the next lap to what those guys were on that we were just looking at there. These guys are on 29. The others have just completed 28. Now, still caught under pressure from Campbell, Barnes, Powell, and Reddit, but he has been released. He's got 0.8 of a second breathing space, not 0.2 as it was for a long, long time there. So a big win for Alex Court, a big downslide, unfortunately, for Noble and Campbell. I was going to say, before that battle ignited, the only real battle in the top 10 was between Dyke and Chadwick. It's now between Rpund Leonage and Dylan Pereira, and Pereira all over the back of the 79 here. So it's 61 v 79 in the battle for the minor placings here as Dylan Rudd starts lap 30.
Dodd is on a charge. He's only 2 seconds down the road, 2.2 seconds down the road. Leonage and Pereira as well, Zach. So Dodd is wanting to get into the mix. He's only got 3 laps to do it though. So Pereira and Leonage have got to be really tactical on how they manage these battles and when they're going to do it, because they could promote Dodd into it as well, and it could give Dodd third or second.
I'm looking forward to hearing the insights of Rudd, Leonage and Pereira at the end of this race too, Matt Davis and JP, because really at the end of the day, we haven't seen much of their race. Our eyes have been too well focused on what's been happening down the order in the mid-pack, because it has just been scintillating stuff from first until last. This is Dylan Rudd going through the back of the circuit with 2.5 laps to go, or 3.5 laps to go, I should say. Lap 30 or 33. He's well and truly on the run home. He leads to the tune of nearly 13 seconds. And the Holdens are going to, well and truly decimate the Fords once more. Unfortunately for Ford fans all around the country who rode on the success of the likes of Reina Costello in the first season. Nothing to crow about at the moment. The line will roar yet again in Italy.
Is it, one question I do have to ask you, Zach, is it a Holden dominating field at the moment? Because I know Wednesday nights, Ford and the Spirit of Tasmania, I hope you're watching down there, mate. The Fords are absolutely dominating at the moment. They're dominating the top 10 and the top 20.
Well, make sure you stick around for the post-race results here, because it's been about 6-4 or 7-3 in favour of Holden in the top 10, and then 11 to 20 as well. The last couple of weeks, Holden drastically outnumber Ford in the RSRA Super Series, unfortunately for the FORD brigade.
Oh, mate,
but there it is.
I'm happy with that one. I think Kisby and I myself might have to swap here. I think I might have to be a co-commentator on Tuesday Night Motorsport, I think.
Oh, look, no, Kisby needs a helping hand. He's a great co, but he needs someone to lead him, to say Kisby. So if you come to Tuesday night, you'll have to do a deal with him to take me to Wednesday night. I don't know. It's Dylan Rudd, Rpund Leonage and Dylan Pereira at this point in time. Or alternatively, because I can't the flexibility doesn't allow me to take on Wednesday night, we just swap the RSRA Super 2 and Super Series around, and you take this one on a Wednesday night, we take the undercard on a Tuesday night. Have a look at this in the meantime. Jamie Dyke side by side with Benny Morris, the battle for 5th, and Dyke is going to the top 5 to fly the flag for the Fords.
Oh, no, Benny Morris into there.
Benny Morris, no luck, and I've gone back to dawn. Ben Morris tucks back in behind. This battle's not over yet. It's going to ignite one last time. And look at Simon Chadwick ranging up on the back of them as well. Dyke, Morris and Chadwick, 5th, 6th and 7th. The battle between Leonage and Pereira is still on for 2nd and 3rd. Aaron Dodd all on his lonesome in 4th. And this race is far from done. 2 to go.
Alex caught that big battle we watched earlier, Zach. Alex caught stepped away from Mitch Campbell as well. He's out in 6 seconds over Mitch Campbell. So Court has got the top 15 secured. But the big battle now is between Leonard Ferreira and Dyke Morris and Chadwick here, ladies and gentlemen. What a finish this is going to be. Morris now having a look on Dyke now.
Yep. So Benny Morris and Jamie Dyke not content with their respective positions at the moment. They're going to argue the issue here all the way to the end. Morris on the outside of Dyke now on the way down towards turn 1. And not strong enough. More contact. Oh, the elbows are out tonight. And this is a 3-way Mustang fight. Look at Simon Chadwick now all of a sudden sniffing a top 5. The Mustangs are arguing over 5, 6, and 7, and Chadwick, he's not ruling out a top 5 here if Morris and Dyke should come together once more. And I'm not ruling that out in the next lap and a half. Wow, this is fantastic stuff. On the run up the hill. Beautiful sunset in Italy. Get that up, you Queensland. Lap 32 or 33, that's what 8 o'clock at night looks like in Italy. How good's that? But even in the meantime, here comes Dylan Rudd with a lap and a quarter to go. He has just been a cut above tonight, as he has been all season. Pressure from Rainer Costello in the first couple of weeks, but since Rainer's absence, this guy has been in a league of his own, and now he's only 4.91 kilometres away from another win. And I think it's his 3rd consecutive, which, just highlights the dominance that he's enjoyed in the second half of this campaign. Look at it now. A 3-way fight for second. Aaron Dodd right there. Aaron Dodd right on Dylan Pereira and Ryan Leonage with 1 to go in Italy. Let's keep our eyes on this battle here. Dodd will have a tremendous opportunity if he can get a run on these guys coming back to the main straight on the last lap. What can he do in the meantime? Is he going to have enough? Is he going to be close enough to make a move? To really apply the pressure to these guys? Has he got one last big run in the tank? Now, watch him closely. Will he be close enough to make a move at the hairpin? No, probably not. And Rihan Leonage, geez, what tremendous head on that shot, on those shoulders for this young man to really withstand the pressure from Pereira and Dodd tonight. Fine young talent, Rihan Leonage. There's something in the Leonage gene pool, and this guy is holding his own in a performance that'll really make his dad proud, no doubt about that. In the meantime, look at Dylan Rudd just showing off at the front of the field. The guy is 14 seconds to the good of the rest of the pack. He has dominated the second half of the championship. He's going to have one hand on the title, but as we know, double points in the final round, so Rudd is not going to be home until he gets to Mount Panorama. Last turn, run to the checkered flag. Holden on top in Italy. Rudd gets the job done. The line roars at Imola, and Rudd wins the SimShed Broadcasting 160 in emphatic style. Now look at this. Look at this. Ferrari with the big squad. Dodd's going to be able to have a drag up on the run towards the line here. Ryan Leonage, a tremendous run to get second. Pereira will hold off Dodd, but what a fight that was. Oh, how good is Tuesday Night Riders run on the RSRA SuperSeries? Holden might have done. Oh, gee, the youngsters are really showing their craft.
What a race.
Awesome. Matt Davis, before we lose you and before we crank up the volume to celebrate with that guy there, Dylan Rudd, Jamie Dyke goes 5th, holding off Ben Morris. Simon Chadwick lost out on the run line. He comes home 7th. Hayden Norris will be 8th. Sean McNamara 9th. And Jacob Brewer home in 10th. There's a real fierce fight unfolding between Peter Crossingham, Alex Court, Mitch Campbell, Dean Power and Chris Barnes, if we can get to that, JP, because those guys are still on their way to the line. And Crossingham's just lost 3 positions. Court, Campbell, Power and Barnes have all gone by, and Crossingham's just catapulted down the order from 13th back to 17th. Here they come across the line.
He's out of fuel.
Out of fuel. That's the problem. And that was exactly what we talked about. Crossingham pitted on lap 21, needed to save a bit of fuel, didn't. Oh, dear oh dear. Another string in the tail. Can you believe that? Alex Court comes home in 13th. Campbell, Power, Barnes and Crossingham, the end of that battle. But it's a case of what might have been for Peter Crossingham as he chug-a-lugs across the line. Matt Davis, before I let you go, and I know you're about to shoot through, thank you for joining us tonight. Great to get the band back together. 2, your thoughts on all of that and a Driver of the Night nomination maybe from you. And 3, a little bit of intel into what we can expect tomorrow night when we go sprint racing. Yes, reverse grid racing from Imola in the RSRA Super 2 E-Series, please, mate.
Mate, more than welcome. Thank you very much for having me. It's good to get the band back together on a Tuesday night in the booth. We held it back on Wednesday night and had the 3 of us, the Spirit of Tasmania, yourself and myself, together on the Wednesday night motorsport. And mate, that was good to get back together, but it's good to be back on Tuesday nights again, having a little bit of a banter. Mate, Imola, always a track that always turns it on. Doesn't matter whether it's GT, GT4, GT3, doesn't matter what racing you put on here, it's always going to turn something on. And RSRA Super 2, Super Series on a Tuesday night, it really did turn it on for ladies and gentlemen viewing at home, whether it be on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you watch it from around the world. You definitely got your money's worth tonight. I got my money's worth, and I'm sitting in the hot seat in the commentary booth. So, but, mate, looking into tomorrow night, oh geez, what can we expect? It's going to be action-packed. Let's put it that way. It's Jamie Davis is finally starting to find his feet in qualifying. We know he's got exceptional pace. Simon Valla and Robbie Bradbury, they're starting to fight for the championship lead now as well. The Century Motorsports crew, they're starting to turn it on. Simon Valla was 2 on the trot until Jamie Davis stole that away from him. And this, I think, with the race win under Jamie Davis's belt now, and a strong qualifying performance last week, that might have been the little bit of a kick that Jamie needed to get a bit of a wiggle on and extend out that championship lead. I think he's out to 100 points so far at the moment. So I think it's only going to be extending a little bit further. But join us tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Times for your RSRA Super 2 E-Series. And I can tell you right now, it is not going to disappoint, Zach.
Not at all, mate. And the commentary won't disappoint either, mate. Love your work. Thank you so much. And we look forward to having you in the booth again a little bit later on in the season. Hopefully grand final night when we've got 2 races for the price of 1 from Mount Panorama.
Yes, hopefully, mate. Fingers crossed, and we'll see what happens. That's actually meant to be my my race season, my actual race season starting grand final weekend. We get the long weekend down here in Victoria, thank God, and we're heading off on the Thursday night up to Alexandra to compete in the Alexandra 100 lapper in the standard saloon, or the support class for the 100 lapper in the standard saloon. So fingers crossed the government lets us out a little bit, and we're able to start off our it would be nice to start off our race season a little bit early, and what better way to do it than the grand final long weekend. And fingers crossed, if Melbourne get up there, Zach, I'll be going straight from racing straight to the MCG to watch the grand final.
Maybe. There's no guarantee that it'll be the MCG yet, although I hope it is for the very obvious reasons.
I very hope it is, mate, and especially if Melbourne do make it.
Exactly right, mate. Fingers crossed for you. Of course, finals coming up from the next weekend. So we'll catch up in due course, mate. Appreciate that. And as you can see on your screen there, folks, what we were talking about, the dominance of Holden continues 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, and 10 tonight. So 7 and 3 in the top 10. Dylan Rudd from Rehan Leonage, 13.73 seconds in the end. He just smashed him, didn't he? Again, it's a Leonage in a Dylan sandwich tonight. Have a look at that. 14.3 seconds the margin from Rudd back to Pereira. Only 0.6 of a second between Leonage and Pereira there. Aaron Dodd charged home with a wet sail. Jamie Dyke was a distant 5th, just ahead of Benny Morris. And then Simon Chadwick, another 2.3 seconds down the road. I'll be interested to see what happened to Chadwick on the last lap there, because he did drop back about 2 seconds there when it just might have looked like he may have been able to, pose a threat to 6th and 5th in that final 4.9 kilometres. Hayden Norris, Sean McNamara and Jacob Brewer made up the top 10. Over the page, again, 8 and 2, the split here. So the Fords had a shocker tonight, I'm sorry. Craig Schultz, Brian Cooper, Alex Court, Mitch Campbell, Dean Power, Chris Barnes, and Peter Crossingham, Dean Reddit, Brenton Nitschke and Sam Noble. We didn't get a safety car tonight. We were a little bit surprised by that. And we had 25 come home on the lead lap. Kirby was 21st. Alessi, Skiles, Angus, and Dawson. Then what's that? 6 and 4, the split in favour of. So basically, you've only got 9 Fords in the field, ladies and gentlemen. So it was always going to topple in favour of Holden, unfortunately, for those of you FORD clan. So Cameron Jones was 8 laps down of retirement late in the piece. Kai Turner, an early retirement. So too Robert Crisdale. Rick Sibra, a big retirement there as well. He actually dropped out on lap 1. So they're the results. Now let's get stuck into the post-race show here. I'm with the greatest respect to Dylan Rudd and Dylan Pereira. I'm going to go to Rehan Leonage first because at the end of the day, he's the youngest. So there'll be a bedtime curfew looming for the young man. Rehan, if you've got me, we'll come to you first, mate. Just unmute the microphone there for me. An extraordinary night at the office, an extraordinary race from you. How are the shoulders feeling after that, mate? Because there was tremendous pressure on you right throughout the night, and you handled it superbly.
No, it was all right. Yeah, definitely wasn't easy, but yeah, didn't really feel too much pressure because I knew that we would be gunning for a clean race, so I knew there wouldn't be any silly moves. But that first lap turn 1 incident was unlucky for those drivers who didn't come out very well, but I ended up coming out very well out of there from 5th to 2nd on the start. So from there, just kept going upwards, and yeah.
It's interesting too, just listening to all of that, mates. How calm, cool, and collected you sound after 33 really intense laps. As I said, in the call, maturity beyond your years here, and a drive that your old man would have been extremely proud of, I'm sure.
Yeah, this time we were just trying to make sure that we didn't get the fuel calculations wrong. That's for sure. Yeah, definitely proud. It wasn't easy work, but yeah, we made it to the end in one piece. Clean race.
Yeah, exactly right, mate. And the pressure was mounting from Dylan Pereira there in the closing stages, and Aaron Dodd was lurking and looming as well. Were you mindful of all of that as you were trying to put faultless laps together?
Yeah, I was mindful of that. I was a little bit scared coming into the last few laps. I knew Aaron Dodd was closing in very quickly, so I knew no mistakes, and that would keep me alive. And the last few laps were just push, push, push. Try not to lose any spots, and yeah, especially not crashing out because all of those rest of the 32 laps were all to go down the drain. That yeah, so had to be a little bit cautious, but really still pushed.
I was going to say, in amongst all of that, mate, your strategy was good too. You got 12 laps out of the first stint, then it was a short second stint, and then an 11-lap run home. I'm assuming tyres taken in the second stop as per the norm.
Yeah, we were just trying to get our 12 laps in that first stint, and then do a 10 laps in the second stint so that we could get freshies as soon as possible without having to save any fuel, and it worked. Just normal true stop and second stop for tires, yeah.
Now, one thing, actually, Rehan, just stay there with me for a moment. One thing that I'm going to get JP to jump on in with shortly is an update on Peter Crossingham, because we saw him chug-a-lugging across the line, and we know that you need to be able to get, and this is something we didn't even factor in to all the calculations tonight until Rehan just said it then. We're talking about the guys needing to get to lap 11 and then lap 22 and then lap 33. They also needed to get lap 34, and they need to be able to limp back to pit lane under their own steam or get a 3 spot penalty as a result of running out of fuel on the cooldown lap. And given that Crossingham was running out of fuel already as he crossed the line, I don't think that bodes too well for him holding on to 17th position. But we'll find out more on that a little bit later on here. And I'm just getting word through that he did make it back, so he's okay. Peter Crossingham did make it back, so results stay as they are, which is really good to see. But yeah, it was interesting, Rehan, just watching your race there, mate. And with the greatest respect, it's nice to get to have a chat to you guys. because at the end of the day, we spent a lot of time watching the battles behind you because the mid-pack racing was pretty intense tonight, whilst Mr. Rudd was just out cruising into the sunset, literally on his own. And of course, Pereira was right there with Rehan all the way through as well. We'll hear from Pereira and Rudd very shortly. In the meantime, Rehan, let me come back to you. What next for you, mate? Because you're accumulating such consistent results here. You're putting together a really good championship. It looks unassailable, the advantage that Dylan's got at the moment, with the exception of if he has an absolute shocker when we get to Mount Panorama in 3 weeks' time. What's your plan of attack for the next 3 races? Is there a way of trying to slow Rudd down or catch Rudd at the very least? Or are you just happy to run your own race here, mate?
I'm just happy to run my own race. I know that Rudd has a lot more pace than me. So well done, mate. I know that definitely won't be able to catch you unless you have some sort of big mistake. But for the next few rounds, I'm not really going to be pushing all that much. Just going to be keeping it cool, steady, and make it to the end of each one. Just accumulate as many points as I can, and that'll be the end. And especially in Bathurst last round, because we've got a reverse grid for there as well. So
Well,
that's going to be chaos.
yeah, you said it. You said it, and you're absolutely right. We cannot wait from a broadcast standpoint, from an audience standpoint. Bring it on. From a driver standpoint, you're probably already tearing your hair out. Hey, well done, Rehan, and well done, Dylan Pereira as well. Only drivers to have a 0 incident race tonight. Dylan Rudd, of course, with the 5 bonus points for pole position, still wins the round. But you guys are more points clear of the rest of the pack than you otherwise would be, because you get the 5-point leg up there. So when it in the final wash up, it'll be 155 for Dylan Rudd, 153 for Rehan, and 151 for Pereira. 7 points clear of 4th, 5th, 6th, etc., and so forth. So well done in all of that. Rehan, next week. Twin Ring Motegi, are you familiar with the circuit? Have you had much running on that track? And if not, what's the plan of attack in preparation for it next week, mate?
In fact, I've never actually heard of the track before this season, so definitely gonna have to put a lot more practice. But it's helpful that Victoria's still in lockdown for another few weeks, so
Yeah, that's true.
still at home, get a lot more practice time, and I have a lot more energy because I'm not having to run around. So definitely gonna be a tricky one next week, but yeah, I reckon I'll be able to handle it. Just not go too aggressive. Got to put enough time into it.
And then, of course, we get stuck into the Australian leg of the championship with Phillip Island and Mount Panorama as well. In the meantime, Rehan, I'm about to let you go, mate. But before I do that, stick around because I'm told the championship points are already ready to go. So I'm sure you're probably keen to see where you're sitting. Let's have a look at what tonight means for the championship. A little bit uncharacteristic to do that before we finish talking to the drivers here, but I want to see Rehan's reaction to that. The margin is now 135, Dylan Rudd to Rehan Leonage, but you've now got 17 points again between yourself and Dylan Pereira here. That was only 15 coming into the night, mates. So you're sitting there very nicely. 1, 2, and 3 of the championship were 1, 2, and 3 in the race. Are you surprised by that? No, neither am I. We'll have a look at the rest of that a little bit later on, but I just wanted to see, for Rehan's sake, where he sits within the realms of all of that after tonight's race, because he's about to scoot through. So, Rehan, your thoughts on all of that, mates, and some thank yous as well before we let you go.
I'm very happy that I'm still up there. I was a little bit surprised at the start of the season when I was already still somewhere up there in the top 10. I expected, at the start of the season, I expected to end off in like top 15 would be good, but never expected a top 3, and I'm just hoping to keep that alive.
Good on you, mate, and some thank yous before we let you go.
Um, I would like to thank SimShed Broadcasting, Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, Warana, Dragon RC, DSL Welding Services, Abruzzi Australia, VR covers, Cars for Hope, Racing with Autism Australia, Blue Stampede, Labour Hire, and I'd also like to thank everyone that's been watching. It's been lovely here, and thank you everyone in the commentators booth. And also like to thank my dad for being my crew chief, always getting my fuel numbers right, never letting me down. And I'd like to also thank everyone that, like family and friends watching. Thank you.
Well done, mate. Nicely spoken as per usual. Get out of here. We'll catch up with you next week. Thanks again for sticking around to have a chat to us. Rehan Leonage, very nicely done from him. Good on you, mate. No, we appreciate that. Good stuff. Let's move on and have a solid half-hour chat to the two Dylans here because there's plenty to dissect in all of that. Dylan Rudd, it's fair to say that with 500 kilometres of running around here on Sunday, you were well and truly prepared for tonight.
Yeah, definitely had an idea of what the race car was like and how to qualify. So yeah, it's definitely more than prepared.
Absolutely, mate. That thing was on rails right from the outset. Pole position by 0.4 of a second. The race win by a fairly comfortable margin as well. What'd you make of the race? What'd you make of the entire night, mate? Because from where we were sitting, from where we were looking, it didn't look like it could have gone any better.
No, definitely perfect round. The race has got a good start. Obviously, the incident at turn 1, I got a gap pretty early, so I just pushed for a couple laps and then just cruised and fuel saved, changed the tires and just kept it clean and brought it home.
I just got a message from young Rehan saying that he didn't need to go yet. So if I come back to you, Rehan, I come back to you. If not, then mate, at least we've covered you off because I wasn't sure with bedtimes and everything else. But not really any bedtime in lockdown. That's a good point to note. I didn't know exactly where you were in the country, mate. So I'm glad to know that for next week because I reckon we'll be talking to you again as well. And of course, Victoria's in lockdown until September bloody 2. Let's continue along with Dylan Rudd and Dylan Pereira here in the meantime. And if we think of it, we'll bring Rehan back in as well. He's going to stay here and have a listen to what these boys have got to say. He might even pick up some tips from Dylan Rudd along the way here, mate. Firstly, that was a fantastic performance from first until last. Did you get a little bit lonely considering you had such a buffer at the front of the field?
Yeah, a little bit. I was just watching the laps countdown. There wasn't too much to to focus on other than just not making any mistakes. So yeah, definitely got a little bit lonely and bored, but yeah.
I guess the only thing that would have been nice for you would have been to complete the clean race and get that extra 5 points as well. But given the margin you enjoy in the championship at the moment, uh, it's a little bit circumstantial in the full equation, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. So yeah.
Um, just for the benefit of people tuning in at home who might not appreciate what you've been able to rack up here tonight. I mean, the pole time was superb. You were the only one in the 41s. You've won the race by 14 seconds. You've dominated from first until last. I'm pretty sure you led every lap along the way here. When you're in that situation, you've had the best of both worlds this season. You've had races where you've been pushed all the way from someone like Rainer Costello. You've had a race tonight where you've just obliterated the competition. There are some people who race better when they're in a pack, not reliant upon having to focus on just clocking laps. They race better in amidst a battle, for instance. And then there are those who race better when they're out on their own, they can do their own thing. You've obviously had a lot of practice with both. How do you adapt to a situation like tonight where your main focus is just keeping it on the black stuff and ticking down the numbers, ticking down the laps, so to speak?
Yeah, I find just having the being out front and kind of having a little bit extra pace in hand to have a healthy margin. I probably don't do the lap times probably aren't as fast. Whereas if I'm following someone who's a bit like in a pack, for instance, I'd say the lap times are probably a bit better for me. So yeah.
Good stuff, mate. I'll come back to you very shortly. I want to bring Dylan Pereira in here. You're making a habit of this now, Dylan. You find your way onto the podium a few times so far this season. You're a comfortable third in the championship. Talk us through your night because unlike Dylan Rudd, who was way out in front, unassailable, you would have got sick of the side of the rear bumper bar of Rehan Leonage, I would have thought.
Yeah, 3 in a row, which is a bit of a surprise for me. Didn't think it would happen today with a lot of fast guys in quali, and benefited from a bit of a mistake, or so a bit of carnage up ahead of us, ahead of me and Rehan, and we benefited second and third place. First stint, it was fairly straightforward, just kind of trying to fuel save behind Rehan and make sure we try and keep a clean race. Second stint, I think Ben Morris threw a bit of a spanner in the works by taking tyres in that stint. So he closed up pretty quickly, and I had to defend pretty well to keep him behind. Fortunate enough to do so. And then the last stint, Aaron Dodd was coming at a rate of knots. So yeah, it was pretty intense for me.
Let me come back to the Aaron Dodd thing in just a moment. I've got a little bit of breaking news for those of you tuning in at home. I was made aware of this 10 minutes ago or so, but I wasn't aware that I could broadcast it. Cameron Jones has been disqualified from the race this evening. You would have seen him come into pit lane there to serve a pit lane penalty that was awarded to him for a pit lane infringement late on in the piece. He was disqualified for dangerous driving in pit lane. Now, obviously, we didn't see the incident. We can't comment on the incident, but the stewards have deemed it inexcusable and have thrown the book at him. What's disappointing for Jones, I mean, obviously, and apparently he's been sent to the naughty corner for next week as well. So, I mean, you saw Ben Morris whacked over the knuckles and suspended for a week a couple of weeks back after what happened on the cooldown lap in Chicago. Jones will now be suspended for next week's outing as well. Now, what's interesting in all of that is, had he got back out there, he would have still netted some championship points. I guess, yep, he's not in the equation for the championship at the moment, but he would have still netted some championship points considering that he finished 75% of the race tonight down there in 27th. Now, it'll be a big fat zero, a duck egg, unfortunately, for Cameron Jones tonight, and it's just really the nail in the coffin. I said there earlier, and Dylan Pereira might be able to comment on this in a moment because he would have had a bird's eye view to all that carnage on the opening lap, and Rehan as well, since he's still here with us. We mentioned that drive-through was the nail in the coffin. No, the nail actually followed post-race, unfortunately, for Cameron Jones. So, Dylan Pereira, just going back to you, and since Rehan's still here, we'll bring him in again as well. What was your account of the first corner shenanigans? What was your view of it? Because at the end of the day, that was an incident that, sure, it affected Cameron Jones. It took Aaron Dodd out of business for a little bit, sent him back down the order to, I think it was 8th or 9th, and he was constantly working his way back throughout the course of the night. But that was a huge leg up for you guys in the early stages.
Yeah, I didn't see exactly what happened. It's always quite intense at the start of a race, of course, off the grid. We were quite lucky that the cars behind us didn't get off the grid so well. So we were able to brake a bit early and then navigate our way through some of that contact. And it's pretty much just good luck, really. And then benefited second and third place. So yeah, didn't really get a good view of what happened.
Rehan, what about you, mate? Did you see any more of the incident than what Dylan's just detailed there? Because at the end of the day, there was a lot happening at the start, but reaction time was what probably saved you guys there in the end, and evasive action. And when you're thinking in the spur of the moment, in the heat of battle, it doesn't always work out as well as it did for you and Dylan tonight.
Well, yeah, I didn't really see much more than Dylan, because it all happened like right next to me. I got a good start, tried to take evasive action to the people braking ahead of me, and yeah, had to swerve off into the inside. I was very cautious there, still got a better exit than some, and then I think 2 other people went off the track, so they must have had slow down penalty. So we were quite clear after then, and just set a few people back, not everyone, but yeah, definitely wasn't easy getting out of there, but it was still good fun.
I will highlight this for the benefit of everybody at home as well. We showed the results there a short while ago. The only three drivers down behind Cameron Jones were Kai Turner, Robert Crisdale, and Rick Sibra. They didn't complete 75% of the race. They were retirements. They score 0 points, but instead of reading 28, 29, 30, they'll now read 27, 28, 29 because the DQ drops to last, bar none. So that's unfortunate for Cameron Jones. But less said about that, the better, because it does, those sort of incidents, as rare as they are, they do at times tend to take the shine off what was an awesome race here at the Imola circuit in Italy. And just have a look at that for a moment. What you're seeing on screen there, ladies and gentlemen, how good is the attention to detail of iRacing? That one of the great murals in world sport, a testament to the longevity, the history of the Imola circuit. It's association with the FIA Formula One World Championship. It's almost like you don't need to go to the circuit now to get your photo in front of that, like all these people when they go and do the touristy thing and get the photo in front of the Leaning Tower of Pisa. iRacing's just brought you one of the great attractions of the Imola circuit right here and now. Let's continue on here with Dylan Pereira. Mate, at any point did you sense an opportunity to find a way by Rehan Leonage, or did he just drive too good a race to keep you at bay?
Absolutely no mistakes by Rpund. He was super solid from lap one. Tried to stay close and got a decent toe on the last straight, but yeah, not anywhere near close enough. And also working together with Rehan as he's a teammate of mine. So yeah, we worked together throughout the race to have a clean race and try and maintain our position.
And like Rehan said, the critical importance of getting to lap 12 in that first stint, mate, just to make it a little bit easier in the run home.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of fuel saving done. Easier for me in the toe of Rehan, but he did an amazing job in clear air to save as much fuel as he did.
Indeed, he did. And it was shown by it was highlighted, and we mentioned it in the commentary 2 or 3 times, the intensity at the mid-pack racing that some of those guys had to pit at the end of lap 10, whether they had to or whether they got their sums wrong or I don't know. But it just went to show how hard saving that quarter of a lap worth of fuel was going to be tonight. We mentioned the numbers at the top of the broadcast. 47.3 was the fuel liter restriction. 4.4 was the fuel burner lap. 10.75 laps to a tank. You had to save at least a quarter of a lap to get 3 11 lap runs, and then you had to bear in mind also the run home and being able to make it back to pit lane under your own steam. Let me bring in Dylan Rudd again at this point in time. I mean, you know the tricks to the trade better than anybody after all the weekend running around here. But for the benefit of those at home that aren't familiar with the concept of fuel saving and the Imola circuit, just how easy, how hard is it, maybe one or the other, to fuel save at this circuit, mate?
It's probably one of those in between tracks. So easy to save at turn one, in the last couple of corners. All the mid corners in the middle of the circuit probably not the best for fuel saving, but yeah, you can definitely still save a chunk of fuel in that second to last corner in turn one.
And what about your thoughts on that, Dylan Pereira?
Yeah, I thought it was quite a good track for fuel saving, especially in a tow. Coming down the main straight, you can get off the gas pretty early. Yeah, and as Dylan Rudd mentioned, a few other corners on the track as well.
Now, on the note of fuel saving, last week it didn't look like the easiest circuit for fuel saving. It wasn't the most entertaining race we've ever seen last week. Tonight, well and truly made up for that. But we've only got 3 rounds left to go on the RSRA Super Series. Although Dylan Rudd, I must apologise. I sold you a little bit short tonight, mate. I thought that you were going to get to a point where you wouldn't even have to bother turning up for the last round of the series, and then JP goes and tells me that it's a double points round. So that lead of yours isn't exactly unassailable, but it's going to get to a point where you probably just need to finish when we get to Mount Panorama.
Yeah, well, definitely might spice things up if things don't go my way, but yeah, make it interesting. So yeah.
Exactly right, mate. We've got a little bit of time here, boys. We've got about 10, 15 minutes before we need to wrap up. But in saying all of that, another safety car free race as well. So It's testament to you guys for the gap you were able to put on the field. It's testament to the standard of the series that we've gone through another week without a caution as well. Although, that being said, the first few weeks of the season, we couldn't escape the safety car. So, Dylan, from your standpoint, Dylan Rudd, I'll go to first, then Dylan Pereira. You reckon the standards improved over the last few weeks?
Yeah, for sure. The starts are a lot cleaner, so a lot less incidents at the start of the race. So yeah, that's be for cause of the less safety car, which is always good. You don't want to see people being taken out on lap one. So yeah.
The great man Lass of Leonage commenting on the Real Sim Racing Australia Facebook feed at the moment, saying well done to our podium, especially our boys Rehan and Dylan as well. So great to have him tuning in at this point in time. Let me bring in Dylan Pereira at this point, mate. Again, you're someone that's been working your way up through, and now podiums are coming thick and fast. Do you reckon the standards? Do you reckon it's harder than what it was at the start of the season, or cleaner, or both?
I think it's a bit of both. I think my pace was pretty good from the start of the season. Just made a few errors, getting some pit lane infringement penalties, 2 races in a row. Yeah, that was quite annoying, but quickly learned from that. But yeah, it looks like the standard has really risen from the second to the 10th to 12th fastest driver. It's all pretty close. Really clean racing as well, so it's enjoyable, and the admin team and JP really set the standards there, and we
Yeah.
learn.
Absolutely. Now, on that, let me just have a look here. 12 positions gained tonight for Brian Cooper, 14 each for Mitch Campbell and Chris Barnes. They were the biggest movers in the pack. Shocking night for Skulls and also Angus, 12 and 10 positions. Lost Jones with 24. That becomes 27, of course. He'll drop down behind Rick Sibra. So, I mean, there weren't too many big movers beyond that in either direction. It seemed to be that the big moves were made on that opening lap when Rehan Leonage and Dylan Pereira were able to get up 3 positions each off the start and then hold it when obviously Aaron Dodd dropped down the order, Ben Morris dropped down the order, and also Cameron Jones. On the subject of that, um, Dylan Pereira, you've got to be mindful, as you said in the closing stages there, of someone like Aaron Dodd. He was posing a big threat there in the closing stages. You're probably breathing a sigh of relief that the race ended the lap that it did and not maybe one or two more, because he was bearing down on you guys at a fair rate of knots.
Yeah, absolutely. I was counting down the laps. I'm very happy that it was the last lap. Made it a little bit harder for myself coming out of the pits at second stop. I kept the pit limiter on and forgot, so I lost the tow from Rehan and had to work to get that. And we were putting in some good laps, but then maybe a couple of errors here or there, and then Aaron just kept on it, and yeah, he was right there, and I was sweating bullets.
Absolutely. Rehan, did you get wind of the fact that Aaron was coming? And for one, and two, when you were up there in second in the early stages and fighting it for a podium position, I mean, knowing that one of the faster guys is on their way back through, or at least going to be attempting to claw their way back through, does that add any extra pressure to you, or change your plan of attack, or are you just happy to run your own race and if they come through, deal with it then?
Yeah. I was just thinking, like I was a little bit scared, kind of sweating a little bit towards the end when Aaron Dodd was right on our tails. But yeah, plan of attack was just, if he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, then well, it's too bad for him, good for us.
And
Uh,
Dylan, you're right,
yeah,
mate. Keep going. Sorry.
thanks. And yeah, I wasn't really too worried about if he tried to make a move on me because I was just thinking he's not really in championship contention with us, and I just want to try to keep a clean race. So if he tried to make a move on him, probably would have let him pass. But yeah.
Very nicely done, mate. Dylan, right, let me come back to you on all of that. When an incident happens in the opening start, I mean, you were probably a little bit lucky there in the sense that you had a couple of car lengths up your sleeve and you were past where that incident unfolded, the key to a clean start, and that paved the way for you to dominate the race in the way that you did because Aaron Dodd was 4/10 of a second behind you there in quali, and the rest were 8/10 and beyond. So obviously, you don't like to see your opponents clash that way, and fall out of contention that way. But it does ease the pressure off you right from the get go, doesn't it?
Yeah, it definitely keeps the pressure off. Don't have to bend on the first lap, so you just build a gap very fast and very easily, not without having any pressure on the first lap. So yeah.
Exactly right. It was an interesting start. It was a messy start, but these guys were the three that got through it unscathed. I've already got Rehan's thoughts on Twin Ring next week. Just for the benefit of those of you that are tuning in, JP, in my ear or on air, actually, whichever you like. Are we on the full circuit or on the east circuit or the west circuit next week when we get to Motegi? We're on the East Circuit at the Twin Ring Motegi next week. Now, normally you'd be used to watching races there on the Grand Prix circuit, but no, we're on a shorter circuit next week. So, I mean, let's get your thoughts on that, Dylan Rudd. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the East Circuit. I'm certainly more familiar with the Grand Prix circuit, but the fact that we're on the shorter or one of the shorter configurations there, it's going to make things a little bit more congested, a little bit more tight and tense, shouldn't it? Next week when we get to Japan for the first and only Japanese round of the season.
To be honest, I don't even know what the East layout is, so I can't can't really comment.
There's the challenge for JP between now and the end of the broadcast. Bring the East configuration up on screen for us so that these guys can have a look because obviously there's the East, the West, the Grand Prix, and the Oval. Thankfully, we're not on the Oval. That'd just be a recipe for chaos. But no, on the East configuration next week, Twin Ring Motegi, which for 32 supercars is going to be, action aplenty, and it's going to be coming your way thick and fast here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. How familiar are you with Twin Ring Motegi, Dylan Pereira?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat as Rehan. I've never heard of it, so I'll be
Oh,
getting the racing line option out and spending some good time, yeah, getting to know the circuit and getting around cleanly.
and that's the thing as well, boys. That track map is coming for you, by the way. JP's hard at work behind the scenes at the moment to show you what the East Circuit looks like, and it'll be a good education for me as well. On that note, you look at Dylan Rudd, your preparation week to week. Do you plan in advance for circuits that you're not familiar with, or are you pretty well up to speed with with a fair chunk of them by now?
Yeah, I'm up to date with most of them. Obviously, when a new track comes to like the official supercar series, I'll buy it and maybe do a couple of laps and like upcoming weeks prior, but haven't really cut any laps around Twin Ring due to scops and stuff like that. But yeah, we'll have to obviously do some practice before next Tuesday.
Exactly right. Rehan Leonage, given that, as you pointed out, you're in lockdown, remote learning for school, does that mean that the weekly sport lesson is a little bit of sim practice on a circuit that you need to learn in the space of 7 days?
Yeah, I guess so. Uh, it's definitely easier because we're still in lockdown, or otherwise I'd have probably half as much time to do practice. And I especially need that actual driving time, and also having a look at some data if needed, especially on a track that I've never driven on. Uh, and as Dylan Pereira said, I might even get the driving line option out just to make it a bit easier, fast track the learning. And yeah, not going to be easy, but it's same for everyone.
Well, that's exactly right, isn't it? And everyone's going to be in the same boat next week when we get the Twin Ring Motegi East, of course. If you're not familiar with the East configuration, you're going to see what it looks like in just a few moments. But in the meantime, let me continue here. Dylan Pereira, at the start of a season, when you look through a calendar and you see the circuits that you will be racing on, you look at the costs involved in downloading circuits that you haven't got. You notice a couple of circuits that you're not terribly good on or you're not terribly familiar with. There's the East Circuit too, by the way, boys. So it's not the traditional start-finish straight. It's the back straight start-finish line. And then down under the tunnel there, which is, of course, turn 1 and 2 of the oval, or turn 3 and 4 of the oval. I'm not sure which direction. I think it's turn 3 and 4, actually. And then round through the back section of the circuit, joining on with the Grand Prix layout over there at turn 4 and 5. So that's where we are next week. You'll cross under 2 tunnels on the way there, I do believe, as well. So it's an interesting little circuit. Having just seen it for the first time, there's a couple of good overtaking opportunities that stand out there, but I'll get your thoughts on that in a moment. Dylan Pereira, just back to you. Just on what I was saying, at the start of a season, if there's a circuit that you're not familiar with or a circuit you don't know, do you try and squeeze out an extra 20 minutes, half an hour here and there to get on top of those circuits, or do you just take it week in, week out?
Yeah, reflecting back to last season, which was my first season in RSRA, most tracks were new to me anyway, being fairly new to sim racing. So there was absolutely no chance of looking forward. Was just trying to get into rhythm, learn the track, and have my best performance for race night. I've had the same approach this season as well. I just prefer to get into rhythm, get it done, and then look forward to the next race.
Very nicely done. All right, let's start to wrap this baby up. Some thank yous from Dylan Pereira and Dylan Rudd, please. Starting with you, Dylan Pereira, on another third place.
Yep. So firstly, thank you to the team at RSRA, JP, for putting on a great series, the admin team, race control, the commentary team. They do an amazing job. Thanks to the major sponsors, SimShed Broadcasting, Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Care, Warana, Dragon RC, DSL Welding Services, Abruzzi Australia, and VR covers, Cars for Hope, Racing with Autism Australia, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and a big thanks to my engineer and crew chief and and setup generator as well, Lassit, the 2-time champion, who's doing an amazing job. So thank you.
Just as good behind the scenes as he is behind the steering wheel. Very nicely done, Dylan Rudd. The floor is yours.
So I thank all the guys from 95 Sim Sport, our sponsors, SRT Australia, Racecraft Simulations, iClean Solar, Ipswich and Brisbane, Boss Surveillance Systems, Bala Media, Racing Ears Custom Ear Protection, 3D Printing Services, Cutting Edge Tracks, and RSW Graphics.
Very nicely done. Can I just reflect on a couple of things there? Firstly, with Dylan Pereira, how critical is it for you, someone that's new to sim racing, to have someone with the pedigree of Lassif Leonage in your corner, mate?
Oh, it's been immense. It's really fast tracked my development. There was so much to learn. Racing in a league. I'd only started iRacing in December last year, and the series was completely different to racing in official, as we all know. So, learned to stack in Super 2 series last season, and even this season it was making fairly frequent rookie errors, but it's all come together nicely now, and we've had 3 good races in a row.
And as for you, Dylan Rudd, flying the flag for 9.5 SimSport, it hasn't been the easiest year or easiest campaign, easiest season, I should say, for some of your teammates and some in the stable there. But it must be nice for you to know that you can fly the flag for a pretty good team in this championship at the top of town.
Yeah, it's obviously rewarding when we get the team as a whole does as well each round. Obviously, some of the boys have had some bad luck throughout the season, so just trying to get them up there, getting in, doing consistent results, and trying to get them inside the top 10.
A well-known, well-renowned team with a lot of pedigree, and this guy's flying the flag at the top of it. Well done, Dylan Rudd. Well done, Rehan Leonage. Well done, Dylan Pereira, guys. Thank you so much for your time and your efforts throughout the course of the evening, not just on track, but in the post-race as well. As for you, JP, I'll get you to come back on air with me for a couple of moments here as we wrap up. Your thoughts on Driver of the Night?
Well, look, there's some awesome racing up and down the field tonight, and if you were to say Dylan Rudd was the driver of the night, you would certainly have a safe bet there. But I'm actually going to go with Alex Court, and the reason being is he had a couple of setbacks there through no fault of his own, and he put his head down and he just kept going and kept working his way through the field.
You could never mind how bad a race might end up being for Alex Court. You can always guarantee that he will push his way all the way to the end, put in 100% from first until last. So very nicely done there. Now, of course, on behalf of the crew, I need to thank all the people that support SimShed Broadcasting and the RSRA Super Series here. Nationwide Technology Systems, Goodyear Auto Carolina, Racecraft Simulations, DSL Welding, Dragon RC, Devon Stove Design, Blue Stampede Labour Hire, and FU Suicide. Coming back to them in just a moment. Also, SDK Gaming, Track Cams for Gourmet, and SimShed Broadcasting. Now, on the subject of FU Suicide, you heard Matt Davis, or Mullet Davis, as we're going to call him for the next month or so, talking up the donations and the reason for the mullet at the moment. Mullet Month, trying to raise awareness for men's suicide. It's a fantastic cause, albeit an atrocious look. FU Suicide on Facebook, check them out. They are taking donations via the pinned post at the top of the page there. Although Dean Reddit thinks the haircut is outstanding, it might work at a mullet festival, and I think the New South Wales Hunter Valley town of Curry has one of them. Curry, about 20 minutes from my old stomping ground of Cessnock. They do have a mullet fest, so these boys would fit in right perfectly there at the moment. In pre-COVID times and post-COVID times, of course, they're not allowed anywhere at the moment. But yeah, great cause, get behind it, and then throw in an extra $5 or so to encourage the boys to get themselves a proper haircut when the month is complete. Good stuff there. Really nice to go racing on a circuit, an old school circuit with a modern day look, of course, on the back of all the modifications that were made on the back of Etten Centre's passing in 1994. It's an old school circuit with the modern day safety feel, but it's still got that character, that undulation, that ebb and flow that all the classic Grand Prix circuits have. And unfortunately, the modern day ones seem to lack a little bit. Let's have a look ahead as far as the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting are concerned here, because we have one hell of a week of road course racing coming your way. Tomorrow night, the RSRA Super 2E Series from right here at the Imola circuit in Italy coming up, ready for you for the ninth round of the season, 9th of 12. And of course, it is the second, I think, I'm right in saying the second sprint round of the season there for those guys. So reverse grid racing features tomorrow night. There will be a short, sharp sprint at the start, then a full invert of the field for the second race. So fireworks absolutely assured tomorrow night from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Saturday night, JP and I back in the booth. I don't know how my voice is going to be on Saturday night, because I've got a day of real world motorsport to go and look after out at Queensland Raceway, the Queensland Touring Car Championship, so that could be interesting. Saturday night from 7:20, however, Weekend Warriors Cup Car Series racing. I believe we're up to round 28 now, and we're on our way to the first of two road courses in the run home to the checkered flag as far as the outright championship is concerned. Of course, it's a 35-week campaign, and there will be two road courses and two super speedways feature in those final 8 weeks. So it's going to be bedlam, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Saturday night, the agenda, the setup is the Sonoma Raceway in California. That's what's on the assignment list on Saturday night. Really looking forward to that from 7:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. Then next Tuesday night, round 10. Yes, double digits of the RSRA Super Series. The 11th race of the championship comes your way from Japan, the only trip to Asia for the season. And of course, it's the 7th country of the championship, the 7th different country that will visit out of 8 in the championship for season 2. Twin Ring Motegi, the East Circuit. You've had a good look at that there a few moments ago. All the action from 8:20 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So, Holden went 1, 2, 3, 4 tonight. They dominated the action here at the Autodromo. Enzo e Dino Ferrari. A fantastic performance from Dylan Rudd. Another dominant win. Dylan Pereira, another podium. Rehan Leonage getting up there and securing or affirming, at least for the moment, his spot in second in the championship. Still 3 weeks left. That battle between Pereira and Leonage well and truly alive. Buckley's chance of stopping Dylan Rudd, as much as I hate to say it, unless something goes catastrophically wrong, for the 990 on a night where Holden, as I said, went 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 in the top 10, and the top 3 were a cut above the chasing pack and Aaron Dodd. If it had only been a couple of laps longer, he might have had a chance to throw a cat amongst the pigeons there and shake the top 3 or rattle at least second and third there in the run to the checkered flag. He gave them a scare, but he wasn't close enough. It was a good fight back, nevertheless, after what unfolded on the opening lap. Great to have Matt Davis back in the broadcast booth. Great to have JP here as well. Great to have your company at home wherever you've been tuning in on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting and Real Sim Racing Australia, all around Australia, or indeed the world, be it on Facebook or YouTube. On behalf of JP, Matt Davis, and the team, I'm Zach Caban. Until we see you tomorrow night from 8:20 for the RSRA Super 2E series, on behalf of all the crew here from SimShed Broadcasting, we wish you a very good night.